When the TARDIS lands in a quarry on Earth, the Doctor and Sarah are caught in a quarrying explosion. Sarah is found clutching what appears to be a fossilized hand, buried in 150 million years old strata. Analysis shows the hand to be silicon based and inert, but when Sarah begins to act as if possessed, the Doctor suspects that it may still be alive. Welcome, friends and companions. How are you today? This is Enigmatic Joker on the Random Entertainment channel. And a random name today is a Doctor Who channel. Sci-fi and fantasy fans meet on this channel for fun chats about their beloved books, movies, series, and franchises. We also talk about food and drinks, music and sport, and a special place on this channel for Doctor Who, the best sci-fi series ever. Random Entertainment channel, because we'll discuss everything that involves entertainment, including movies and series, books and musics. And we don't do politics and religion because these are not entertainment. Random, because we'll broadcast on non-fixed time, actually many different times. You need to subscribe to this channel to know what time the broadcast is. Yes, that's mysterious, enigmatic, mysterious. Random. Also, we have no guests or different guests. It depends what you join me in the live stream or panel. If you want to join me in live stream, feel free to contact me via Discord or YouTube, and we will look what is possible. Actually, you can put your comment on one of the videos to contact me, and you also visit the Discord server, Random Entertainment Channel, Tech Doctor Who. You'll find me very quick because I bump the server regularly. You can contact me via the Discord server, send me a message. And by the way, I'm also available for your channel, for your live stream or panel. Feel free to invite me because I am available and I want to contribute on your channel, on your live stream and panel. So with this is YouTube, and yeah, I want to network and make friends and colleagues. So feel free. So cheers, mate, and have lots of fun. Your host, Enigmatic Joker, mysterious, cryptical, um, yeah, whatever. Fourth Doctor story today: the Hand of Fear. Okay, some general info about this story. The Hand of Fear was the second serial of season 14 of Doctor Who. Significantly, it was the final regular appearance of Elizabeth Sladen as Sarah Jane Smith, though she would return to the role in a semi-regular capacity in Skull Reunion in 2006, and a main cast member of the Sarah Jane Adventures in 2007. Spin-off. The Hand of Fear was originally intended for the 1976 six-part slot that was taken by the Seeds of Doom. It was inspired by the 1946 film The Beast with Five Fingers, The Hand of Fear. There were several versions of the script, and one saw the hand as an advance guard preparing the way for an alien army. Another fixed upon two Omegans, representing the Hawk and Dove working against humanity. There were plans for the Brigadier and Harry Sullivan to appear, with the former, much like in early drafts of Pyramids of Mars, bowing out from Who in a blaze of glory. However, script editor Robert Holmes took issue with its complexity and commissioned another script to be the final story of season 13, should this remain unresolved. Finally, in October 1975, the End of Fear was officially delayed and the Seeds of Doom was produced in its place. After Elizabeth Sladen told the production team she wanted to leave early in the next season, Douglas Camfield was commissioned to write The Lost Legion, which would see Kara killed at its conclusion. However, Holmes was unhappy with the script and, in a turn of fate, decided that the Hand of Fear might have to be used as a replacement. Hit unit and degenerating humans removed from the plot. Bob Baker and Dave Martin produced a more linear story, and Canfield fell behind on his own script and was discounted. Baker and Martin led the writing of Sarah's farewell scene to Holmes. Director Lenny May made his final contribution to Doctor Who with The Hand of Fear. After finishing production on a serial and an episode of Softly, Softly Task Force, he was drowned after a wave swept him overboard in the English Channel in May 1977. Permission to film at Oldbury Nuclear Power Station was obtained before the script was completed. So central was it to the story. What Baker found the staff very accommodating on his initial visit, such were their enthusiasm for the project. The radiation provided health and safety concerns with Geiger counter checks before performed on the cast and crew, and radiological clearance certificates have to be issued before any object could leave the premises. They come info the hand of fear. Okay, that was the general info. We now dive into the plot. So, spoiler alert for this. This story is a four-parter, 4 episodes, and we now go into part 1 of the Hand of Fear. So, 150 million years ago on the planet Castria, a trader named Eldred is sentenced to death for crimes including the destruction of the barriers that kept the solar winds at bay. Placed into a capsule and shot into space, Eldred awaits obliteration. The capsule is detonated prematurely, despite the risk of particle survival. Conditions are deteriorating rapidly on Castria. The remaining Castrians await their fate on a desolate planet. The Fourth Doctor and Sarah Jane Smith arrive in the TARDIS in a modern-day quarry on Earth and are caught immediately in a quarrying explosion. The Doctor is slightly injured. Sarah is found unconscious in the rubble, clutching a fossilized hand. He's taken to a local hospital. The hand is examined. Based on the strata of the rock in which it was found, it is 150 million years old. Pathologist Dr. Carter dismisses these findings as ridiculous. Examining a sliver of the hand under an electron microscope, the doctor observes a helix similar to DNA. The minuscule radiation of the microscope causes the sample to grow. The doctor realizes that this fossil may actually contain vestiges of life. Sarah awakens in her hospital bed, holding a crystalline ring that slipped from the hand. The ring begins to pulse with energy. Sarah hears a voice in her head. Eldred must live. She steals the hand and flees the hospital, knocking out Carter with a flash from the ring. She heads for the nearest nuclear reactor, the Nunton complex. With the aid of the ring, Sarah overpowers guards and workmen and enters the reactor room, sending the complex into red alert. She watches as the hand absorbs radiation, regenerates its missing finger, and begins to move. And part 1. Part 2. The head of the complex, Professor Watson, stays at his post when the reactor goes critical. He offers the doctor aid and advice in trying to get to Sarah. She sits serenely amidst the chaos and collections. The doctor resolves to enter the chamber through a cooling duct in cooling systems control. His progress is interrupted by Dr. Carter, now also under the hypnotic control of the ring. He tries to strike the doctor while on the stairwell, but his own momentum carries him over the railing, and he falls to his death. The doctor enters the chamber and finds there is no radiation whatsoever. The hand is absorbing the entire output of the reactor. Sarah is removed and then placed in a sealed cabinet. The doctor breaks through Sarah's hypnosis. The ring, however, is left behind in the chamber. It is found by a technician named Driscoll, who falls under its control. He takes the hand and makes his way to the reactor core. He uses the ring against the security personnel who attempts to stop him. The doctor pursues him, closely followed by Sarah, and narrowly avoids becoming a victim of the ring. They catch up with Driscoll just as he is about to enter the core and set off a chain reaction. The doctor pulls Sarah to the ground to await the explosion. Inside the control room, the panels explode, knocking Professor Watson to the floor. End of part 2. Part 3. It seems they are waiting in vain, as nothing happens. The doctor enters the reactor chamber where the level of radiation is, surprisingly still normal. He explains that sort of, quote, an explosion, end quote, happened. They close the reactor core and hurry out as Watson has ordered an RAF strike to destroy the hand and the reactor. The missiles' impact, however, have no effect because the hand absorbed all the energy. The nuclear missiles and the full power of the reactor are enough to complete the regeneration of Eldred. Crystalline, silicon-based and female, she tells the story of how she created the spatial barriers that let Castria thrive. But in an interstellar war, the barriers were destroyed, and she was disgraced and condemned. Eldred persuades the doctor to return her to Castria so she can save her people. He agrees on the condition that they travel to Castria in the present, 150 million years after she left. Immediately afterwards, Watson arrives and attempts to attack Eldred, firing a gun at her with no effect. She immediately retaliates and means to kill him, but she is persuaded otherwise by the doctor. Leaving Watson to work on getting Nunton back to normal, the doctor, Sarah, and Eldred return to the quarry where the TARDIS landed. They part for Castria. The planet is barren and ruined, but her ring reactivates some instruments. The Castrian opens the door to the underground thermal caves, looking for survivors and triggers a trap. A simmering light dart hits her in the chest. End of part 3. Part 4. After she explains that the dart contained an acid for her own design, the doctor and Sarah take the dying Eldred to a regenerator chamber deep below the surface of Castria in the thermal chambers. Booby traps have been set along, targeting silicon-based beings. The regenerator chamber is rigged to destroy Eldred, but a malfunction allows a full regeneration. A new form of Eldred emerges and reveals he had based his earlier form on Sarah, the first human he encountered. Eldred is now much taller and male. He boasts that he destroyed the solar barriers in rivalry with King Rokon. They find Eldred's ultimate goal to rule Castria. He enters the Castrian race bank where he intends to revive the dormant Castrian people. The bank, however, is empty. An image of the long-dead Rokon appears on a large video screen, informing Eldred that without the barriers, facing perpetual subterranean existence and a small possibility of his return, the Castrian race elected to destroy themselves and the race bank. It was Rokon who long time ago set the booby traps. Rokon mockingly salutes Eldred from the grave as King of Nothing. A bitter Eldred now decides to rule Earth instead and demands the Doctor return him there. The Doctor refuses, stating that his obligation to Eldred is now finished. Eldred pursues the Doctor and Sarah, but they search out the Doctor's scarf across the passageway. Tripping over it, Eldred falls into an abyss to his apparent doom. The Doctor drops Eldred's ring into the depths as well. He knows that Eldred's fate is uncertain, as silicon-based lifeforms are difficult to kill. The Doctor and Sarah depart in the TARDIS, and the Doctor sets about making repairs. Sarah bemoans her life in the TARDIS, bouncing around the universe, fleeing from bug-eyed monsters and needing a bath. The Doctor is focused on his work on the TARDIS console, which infuriates her. She demands to be returned home and storms off to her home to pack. While she is gone, the Doctor receives a telepathic summons to return to Gallifrey and notes to himself that he cannot take Sarah with him. Sarah returns with her packed belongings, which includes a staff, tie, all, and the Doctor informs her that he must return her to Earth, as he cannot take her to Gallifrey. With her idle threat suddenly becoming reality, Sarah is taken aback, especially at missing the chance to see Gallifrey. The Doctor steers TARDIS to bring her to Hillview Road, South Croydon, Sarah's home. She asks him she asks him not to forget her. He replies likewise. Once the TARDIS materializes, Sarah makes her exit, knowing that travel does indeed broaden the mind, and the Doctor promises her that they will meet again. After watching the TARDIS dematerialize to return the Doctor home, Sarah realizes that she's not on Hillview Road and guesses that she's probably not even in South Croydon. She playfully remarks to a nearby dog, "He blew it!" Whistling, she walks off towards her new life. And that, my friends, is the end of the story, The End of Fear. I will name some cast members. Doctor Who is played by Tom Baker. Sarah Jane Smith is played by Elizabeth Sladen. Dr. Carter is played by Rex Robinson. Intern is played by Renu Sedna. Abbott is played by David Purcell. Saska is played by Roy Pedersen. King Rokon is played by Roy Skelton. The guard is played by Robin Hargrave. Professor Watson is played by Glyn Houston. Houston. Driscoll is played by Roy Boyd. And Miss Jackson is played by Frances Pigeon. Elgin is played by John Cannon. And Eldred is played by Judith Paris. Catherine Eldred is played by Stephen Thorne. Some world building in Doctor Who in this story. Topic about cultural references from the real world. Dr. Carter points out that Sarah's clothes make her look just like Andy Pandy. And another thing is that in the final scene, Sarah Jane whistles the tune "Daddy Wouldn't Buy Me a Bow Wow." Since Elizabeth Sladen was unable to whistle, director Lenny Main provided the whistling while she mimed to it. Some world building individuals. Sarah Jane's home is Hillview Road, South Croydon. Another thing is that among Sarah's personal belongings, which she takes from the TARDIS, are a plush owl, a pelargonian pot, and a white vest. Another thing is that a species is that Eldred has heard of the Time Lords, and Eldred says he built barriers to keep out the winds and machines to replenish the soil and atmosphere. Another thing in world building science and technology is that the hospital intern administers an anti-tetanus serum to Sarah Jane. And the hand is found in a stratum of black stone and dolomite dating Jurassic, about 150 million years before. Watson mentioned the atomic energy commission, and radiation is measured in roentgens. Some will building in the TARDIS. The extreme cold of Orchestra might have affected the TARDIS thermocouplings, which the Doctor tries to repair with an astro rectifier, a multi quantiscope, and a Ganymede driver. He decides that he doesn't need the merchant nut or the Zeus plugs. Another thing is that the Doctor tells Edward that the interior of the TARDIS exists in a state of temporal grace. And then another thing is that Doctor warns Eldred that if the coordinates to Orchestra are misset, symbolic resonance will occur in a tracker time crystal, making the travel impossible. Now, the thing is, in time travel is that according to the Doctor, bringing Eldred back to their home time would contravene the first law of time. And world-building influences. Robert Holmes suggests Bob Baker and Dave Martin used the novel The Main Doorlock as inspiration, as well as Crawling Hands, films such as The Beast with Five Fingers in film in 1946. Okay, some story notes. When Elizabeth Sladen expressed her intention to leave the series, Sarah was originally supposed to be killed off in a pseudo-historical story involving aliens and a foreign legion. However, Douglas Camfield, who was supposed to write the scripts, was unable to do so. He was much to Sladen's relief, as she did not want Sarah to be killed or married off. Sladen also asked that Sarah's departure not be the main focus of the story, as she felt the program was about the Doctor, not the companion. Bob Baker and Dave Martin intentionally did not write Sarah's departure scene. The script for that scene was rewritten by Sladen and Tom Baker from Robert Holmes' original version. In terms of seasons, Elizabeth Sladen was the longest serving companion with any Doctor, appearing for over 3 seasons and surpassing Katie Manning's record as Jo Grant. In terms of years, Janet Fielding holds the record for playing Tika Juvenka for just under 3 years. Fraser Hines as a companion, Jamie McCrimmon, holds the record for the longest serving companion in terms of number of episodes in which he appeared. These records do not take non-televised adventures into account, nor later guest reappearances. So, for the record. Another note is that the original script for The Hand of Fear had many differences from the finished version. Nuclear power station was supposed to be the Newton power complex of the claws of Oxus, but was renamed the Newton experimental complex instead. The real life location was the Albury nuclear power station in Gloucester, and Miss Jackson was a nameless man. Director Lenny Main built up the part, changed the gender, and cast his wife, Frances Pigeon. Eldredge Holmes originally was supposed to be the black hole of Omega 4.6. When Robert Holmes pointed out to Bob Baker and Dave Martin that the name Omega had already appeared in Doctor Who, in the Three Doctors, ironically, this story was also written by Baker and Martin, they changed the name to Castria. So the story was to feature an aging Brigadier Lethbridge Stewart who had been transformed from unit to the extraterrestrial exonological intelligence task force, EXIT for short, to study UFO activities. He was to sacrifice his life when he steered a commandeered experimental rocket into an American kamikaze ship to prevent that ship from crashing into Earth. This plan did not go through as Nicholas Courtney was unavailable for filming. Another thing is that in a later version, key character Lieutenant Hawker was replaced by Harry Sullivan. Along with the calcified hand, an American spaceship referred to as the Monolith was now discovered at the start of episode 1 and became central to the storyline, serving as the location of the adventure's climax. The separate factions of Omegans were exercised. Baker and Martin also introduced a new supporting character in the form of a Time Lord named Drax, an untrustworthy Gallifreyan mechanic who wants to steal the TARDIS. Drax was conceived as a possible recurring character, and he later appeared in the Armageddon Factor. Another thing, Elizabeth Sladen is credited as Sarah Jane in Radio Times. Frances Pigeon, Miss Jackson, and Roy Boyd Driscoll are uncredited on screen for Part 3, but are credited in Radio Times. And Boyd appears only in a reprise of Part 3. Another thing is that the fly that can be seen walking across Clint Houston's brow in one scene, where Professor Watson is on the telephone, was swallowed by Elizabeth Sladen in an outtake. The insect proved to be a disruption by interfering with the sound recording. Other things that this story was originally written for the finale of season 13, but there were problems with the scripts. Another thing is that this series was repeated in May 2011, on BBC 4 across 2 days as a tribute to Elizabeth Sladen after her death from cancer a month previously. Another thing is that Anthony Ainley, Dinsdale Landon, Glyn Owen, Patrick Stewart, and Yevon Yardley were considered for Professor Watson. Another thing is that Sarah Jane, after being released from Eldred's influence, says Eldred must live. Just testing. He was pranked by Elizabeth Sladen, meant to corpse Tom Baker, but it seemed so in character that Lenny Main kept it in. Another thing is that Philip Hinchcliffe felt that first two episodes were lacking in incident and failed to give Sarah Jane enough of a role to befit her final adventure. Another thing, the doc in the final scene was handled by Lenny Main's wife, Frances Pigeon, whom he had also cast as Miss Jackson, a character originally intended to be male. Another thing is that Bob Baker and Dave Martin had assisted in securing Albury Court Power Station as a filming location, as this was very near to where they lived. Another thing is that the freeze frame shot of Sarah Jane at the very end was added at the request of Elizabeth Sladen. She considered it her leaving present, and Lenny Main was happy to give it to her. And in the last story notice that in the same way that Eldred's humanoid form was patterned after Sarah, this alien speaking voice was originally intended to be based on Dr. Carter's. Okay, some continuity. And again, in every live stream I say this. Stories, Doctor Who stories and episodes are to some extent related to each other, a reference to each other, are linked to each other, and is from influence to each other. And as always, so interpretation, and again, every time I rewatch a story, an episode of Doctor Who, I discover new things. That's the reason I like this show so very much, and I can watch an episode again and again because I discover every time new things, and yeah, it's why I'm so enthusiastic about Doctor Who. There are some things in my interpretation in the continuity, and that are the 8 points. That is, Sarah Jane's and the Doctor's parting words were gentle admonishments not to forget one another. When K9 Mark III revealed that he was a gift from a doctor, Sarah Jane remarked, "Oh, Doctor, you didn't forget." But we see that in the TV story, a girl's best friend. That is one story with Sarah Jane in the beginning of the 80s, 1980s. Their conversation was repeated nearly verbatim when Sarah and the 10th Doctor parted after her aborted wedding. You see that in TV story, The Wedding of Sarah Jane Smith. Following of Sarah's departure, the fourth Doctor did not have another companion from Earth and only one human, Leela, until his final story in TV story Logopolis. Second thing is that the Doctor later discovers that the summons to Gallifrey, which he receives, was actually sent by the Decayed Master. So there's a link to this TV story, The Deadly Assassin. The third thing is that the Doctor's quip that Gallifrey is perhaps in Ireland is one he repeats in TV story The Invisible Enemy and in Human Nature. The Invisible Enemy is also a Fourth Doctor story. And Human Nature is the 10th Doctor story with David Tennant. Fourth thing is that Sarah expresses a desire to see Gallifrey. Her wish is granted after a fashion when she is abducted to the Dead Zone. Here, she is reunited with the Doctor, although initially with his third incarnation, at a point in his time when he had not yet parted company with her. Before the end of that adventure, she caught glimpses of the first two incarnations of the Doctor, as well as the fifth Doctor. That is TV story The Five Doctors. Fifth thing is that Sarah later met the Doctor in his 10th and 11th incarnations and revealed to the former that he had actually left her in Aberdeen, not Croydon. You see it in TV stories, School Reunion, and Death of the Doctor. Sixth thing is that the Doctor had already practiced hypnosis on Sarah Jane Smith before. See that in the story, TV story Terror of the Zygons. And the way he does so here by putting his hands on the sides of her head is similar to a method he uses in his 10th incarnation with David Tennant. That is in the story Spear and the Shakespeare Code. A seventh thing is that Dr. Smencius Zeus plugs again. That is a TV story The Girl on the Fireplace and Time Crash. And the last thing is that Sarah has pangs about not being able to go to Gallifrey. She previously visited it in comic Return of the Daleks. So, my friends, that's was all for this story. Actually, let me look. There's something I want to. Um, Let me look for a moment. Need to look for something. Um, pom, 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 pom. La, 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 la. Meanwhile, I'm looking for something here. Mm, yeah, yeah, la, 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 la. Yeah, la, la. Let me look. Mm, okay, yeah, that's good. Okay, that's right. Um, okay. Okay. That was it for today. They'll do some commercial and then yeah. So sci-fi and fantasy fans meet on this channel for fun chats about their beloved books, movies, series, and franchises. We'll also talk about food and drinks, music and sport, and a special place on this channel for Doctor Who. Random Cause will discuss everything that involves entertainment, including movies and series, books, and music. Random Cause will broadcast on non-fixed times, actually on many different times. Yes, in fact, the doctors are not linear. It's yeah, in fact, crisscross. You need to subscribe to this channel for to know what time the broadcast is. Yeah, it's so mysterious, enigmatic. Yeah. We're also, because we have no guests or different guests. It then depends once you join me in the live stream panel. If you want to join me in the live stream panel, feel free to contact me via Discord server, Random Entertainment channel, or YouTube. You can put your comment under one of the videos. And we will look what is possible. You can also invite me for your channel, for your live stream panel. I want to contribute to you. I want to network and make friends. So yes, I'm available for your live stream, for your panel. Feel free to contact me. The Discord server is called Random Entertainment Channel slash Doctor Who. So cheers, mate, and have lots of fun. Your host, Enigmatic Joker. That's me. That's me. Okay. Have a nice day, everyone. I'm looking forward to meet you. Bye bye.